Greetings, I'm Brian from RC Workboat Haven. In this video, I'd like to show you how you can make your own floating docks. These docks are easily made, and two sections allow you to form your own harbor down at the beach. Everything comes apart and will fit into a small bag. Now, I'm the first one who could be accused of pushing my RC workboats beyond hull speed. From a hobbyist point of view, the idea of being able to maneuver slowly through a narrow entrance and back up and maneuver around docks and so on, creating your own little harbor, really is fun. So let's take a look at the docks in action. So what I do is I assemble the three sections together and drag them off the beach and pull them out to where I want them. Then I pick up a fiberglass rod and just put it through a hole. There's one in both ends, and press it down into the sand. And the nice thing about this is you can form a V shape, you could put them in a parallel way, you could form a 90-degree angle, or you could make up even more sections and create a more elaborate harbor. So in this video, we're going to make one three-piece section. And we'll go through all the steps and I'll show you how I do it. Thanks for watching. There are three sections that are fastened together with a piece of copper wire, and the sections are 6 inches wide by 15 inches long. So the overall length of dock we're making is around 45 inches. The boards are made of cedar, and the side of it is also the same dimension of cedar. We're using pool noodles as flotation, and there's 3 of them per section. There's a tube here in the end of each outer section, and it has an interior ID of around 5/16. It's just cut from a piece of brass tube and epoxied in, and it's a loose fit so that the dock can drift up and down on the pin. Little brackets here that hold the sections together, we're going to make those ourselves out of brass or steel. Next, I'll lay out the parts we need here on the table. Pool noodles, and they measure 2 3/8 outside diameter. Driveway markers, they're made of 1/4 inch fiberglass rod. They're very strong and smooth, and they come 48 inches long. Some brass tubing for the little tube on the end of the dock. To make the brackets, I'm just using some steel here that I've cut into strips, and I'm going to bend them into an L shape and drill holes in them. It's the ground from house wire. It measures about 1/16 of an inch in diameter. Wooden lattice. It's cedar, which is the right material for the job. It's kind of has a slightly rough finish on it. That's also good. That adds to the realism. Take off the wrapper, and here we are. So this lattice work is put together with small nails that are bent over on one side. So I'm using, it looks like a sort of an upholstery tool, but you could use anything. The main thing is you have to be able to just get it in here like this and give it a twist. And the nail just pulls right off. Just like that. And just follow along. Don't worry if any of the wood chips or splinters. It won't make any difference. Now pick up a pair of needle nose pliers. Get the nail sticking up and give it a twist like that. And off it comes. Now we have over 60 feet of aromatic cedar for our project. When these lattices are made, they don't really plane them down to a smooth surface or anything like that. So I'm just going to quickly remove any little hairs on the sticks. So now we've got 20 pieces of long strips of cedar that are fairly straight, and they measure about just over 30 inches long. Now let's weed out the pieces to find out which are the best. And I'm looking for obvious bends. So these 6 pieces here are the straightest of the bunch, and I'll set those aside because we can use those as the side pieces for the dock sections. We're going to need about 60 pieces, 6 inches long. I've arranged the deck layout so that some of the holes alternate from side to side and try to balance out the knots and so on. The overall length in all 3 is 15 1/4 inches. So we'll modify the plan. So to form the sides of the dock section, I've got 6 pieces at 15 1/4 inches and 6 pieces at 5 5/8 inches. I put some kitchen cling wrap over the cutting mat. I can see through onto the grid, and I'm using square steel blocks here that act as weights, and they're absolutely true. And I can put them up against the wood and position everything, and then I'll glue these frames together. Now they should be perfectly square in the corners. And I'll just relocate the blocks and glue together all 3 frames. And now I'm working my way along. I pick up the piece. I'm putting a little bit in the center, a little bit of glue. I've run a bead along the edges here, and I just flip it over and put it in like this. I can see straight down onto the grid on the table, so I'm able to keep them in alignment. So now I know I'm not going to get twisted as I work my way along. One great thing about this wood is that they're all slightly different in thickness, so it makes it look a bit more real. And it worked out to be an exact fit right to the very end of the dock. So I'll go ahead now and do the other 2 in the same way. And here are the 3 dock sections all glued up. Now using 80 grit sandpaper, I'm going to go over the docks and make sure that all the corners are rounded. Now I'm going to use this tubing that we'll put in the end of the 2 outer docks. And I'm going to just rough it up a little bit with sandpaper here. That'll help the epoxy stick to this. And now I've marked two sections here that are both 1 inch long, and I'll cut that off in the vise. I've patted the vise with a cloth so that I don't damage the tube. I cleaned up the tubing so that there's nothing rough around the cut. So here I've measured in 3 inches in one direction and 3/8 of an inch in another. And now I'll drill a 3/8 hole in that position. Use a piece of doweling or a slightly smaller piece of tubing and make sure that this little insert we're putting in is vertical. And then add a little bit of super glue to just hold it in place. Next, I'm going to epoxy this piece of tubing firmly into the dock. There we go. That ought to take all the weight from that tugboat. So now I'm going to mark the 3 rope holes that hold on the pool noodles. One hole goes halfway along the dock, and then measure in 1 3/4 inches, 1 3/4 inches, and measure up 1/2 an inch from the bottom of the dock. Now I'll drill those out with a 1/4 inch bit. And now the rope holes are all drilled, and I've filed them smooth so that they don't catch on anything. Next step, I'm going to give these docks inside and out a coat of Varathane. I'm putting on a very thick coat of Varathane. I'm working it inside all of the little holes and so on in the boards. Now we have a tough, water-resistant finish on the docks. The brackets on the outer docks are spaced a little bit wider than the middle dock. 3 holes are drilled into this little piece of flat bar, 5/8 on center, and then 9/16 on center with a rounded end. 1/8 inch holes are drilled. I've made up a sample strip. I'll be ready if I have to make any more of these docks up in the future. Hold your sample piece over an unmarked strip. Get a sharp point like a divider and make a circle in each of your holes. You should be able to see 3 small marks. Now center punch each circle. And just repeat the process on the other end. So using a pair of shears, nip off the corners of the outer end, just 45 degrees. I'll drill 1/8 holes, and I'll just round that one end off on a stone. Now we have this at both ends of the flat bar. So just by eye, I'll cut these off with a pair of shears. I'm just going to clean up this edge here on a stone. Next step is we have to bend these little pieces of metal into an L shape, and they have to be done accurately, otherwise the dock won't be straight when it's assembled. So I'll take the rounded end here and I'm going to put a 1/8 bit through it. And now I'm dropping it down on top of a block of wood that is 1/4 of an inch thick. And now I'm tightening the vise. Next, I'll pick up a mallet and I'm going to bend it over. So now if I use the same method on the next one, it should be identical. And there's 2 identical pieces. So these new docks that I'm building in this video have to be compatible with the docks that I've already made here. And I know that when I'm at the beach, I don't have to fiddle with it because everything fits. We're concerned mainly with the position of the hole in the end of the bracket. It has to have the right width, and it has to have the same distance down from the top of the deck. That the center of the hole is exactly 1/2 an inch down below the surface of the dock. So I laid a 1/2 inch wide straight edge level with the deck and made 2 lines, one here and one here. I found the center, then I put one tip of the vernier in that hole and then pressed down and made a mark on the line and did it over here on the other side like this. So here's my marker hole done with the vernier. I can see the lines inside the holes, and I'm just going to press in with a sharp point and make a pilot hole. So I'll do that in both of the end docks and then drill out the holes. I'm going to use 3mm nuts and bolts. They look like they're about 3/8 of an inch long. Now if you already had existing docks, or at this stage here, you can mark the new ones by just lining them up like this visually. So now I'm marking the center section, and I know that the brackets can't be wider than these marks. So here's our mark. ½ inch wide. You can test the fit. That's pretty good. And mark your hole. And just like with the end sections, drill it out with a 1/8 bit. Now using a fairly long, sharp blade, cut the pool noodles. Next, we'll tie them in. We're going to use some twine from, well, you're going to guess that, the dollar store. And we're going to cut the pieces to the approximate length. So the looping pattern is straight through, around, down, over, and then in the opposite direction, straight through like this, sort of like shoelaces. So we'll cut it off here, and we'll make 2 more pieces the same length. After you've cut your twine, get the ends and put a little dab of wood glue on it. Just twist it like this. It makes them easier to work with when you push them through the holes. First, put the string through the noodle and go out each side. Like that. And now make sure the 2 lines are almost the same length. Now thread the 2 lines in on both sides in the middle. Now go through the pool noodle. So now we're at this stage. Now take that line and push it out through the hole. And tighten it up. And now repeat the process for the end. And then tighten it up. So in this section here, we're going to add wood glue. That should hold it. And before I cut the twine off where it comes out of the side, I'm going to super glue that little area. Next step, cut 2 pieces of copper wire about 7½ inches long. Take about 3/4 of an inch and bend it 90 degrees, like that. Take that piece and run it through, and then when it comes out the other side, just bend it down like this. Make sure that it's not sticking out. You don't want to hit it and put a scratch on your boat. And there it is. And here we have our floating docks ready for the lake. Don't forget to cut your pins. They come 4 feet long. I like a 2 foot length. But you could use a full 4 foot if you feel like going out that deep. So let's take one more quick look at the docks in action and then wind up this build. So when you're finished down at the lake, just grab that little copper wire, unbend it, and pull out the pin and drop it in a bag. And here are the dock sections. Now these days, in the war against plastic litter, everybody has these shopping bags. They're 6 inches wide, 14 inches high, and 14 inches deep. And they seem to be all the same dimensions. Take your pins and drop them in. And now you can fit your docks into this bag. Put your pins in the end. And now you're ready to go. Weighs less than 1 pound. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like and comment. And of course, you're always welcome to subscribe. Thanks for watching.